BSH Home Appliance Group. First questions, how many of you know what BSH Home Appliance Group is? Raise your hands. Yeah, I know you know. Thank you to my team. Not so many of them. So of you. So how many of you have a Bosch home appliance at home? A Siemens home appliance at home? A Zelmer home appliance at home? Any Gaggenau users? No. Okay. So nearly all of you have some appliance coming from our factories. So thank you for supporting the company, supporting us, paying our IT infrastructure bills. So this is exactly what BSH Home Appliance Group is about. We are the second biggest home appliance manufacturer in the world. And a lot of that stuff that you're buying, particularly washing machines, dishwashers, tumble dryers, they come from our factories in Łódź. We have quite large operations in Łódź. We have also quite a large IT team there. So I'm there on a regular basis in the city of Łódź. And when I am there, I usually stay at this very nice hotel in the very city center of Łódź. And I was there some 3 or 4 years ago. This is a large hotel, so they do a lot of corporate events, lots of conferences, and on this very evening, there was one. There was a conference of a sales department of a large, fast-rotating, fast-moving consumer goods company. I will not mention the name; it's not relevant. So the hotel was fully booked when I came there, but that's okay. I had my reservation, so I just went to the reception, checked in, went to leave my stuff at the hotel room, and went for a business dinner. I came back a few hours later. It was short to midnight, and there was a party, and it was just reaching its boiling point. I mean, there were empty cocktail glasses in the corridors of the hotel, and there was loud music playing from the ballroom. So I reckoned I wouldn't fall asleep anyhow soon, so I just went up there to the ballroom to check what's going on. And this was a Hawaii party. So the sales department of this company was just having fun. You know, there was lots of sand in the ballroom. There were artificial palm trees. Waiters and waitresses with plates full of drinks. So one of them came to me and handed me a drink. So then my instinct kicked in, and I just grabbed the drink and started sipping on it. And some 10 seconds later, a lady, she just appeared next to me, and she went, "I don't know you." So I thought, I'm deconspired. They will just throw me out of this place in a sec. Some bold, big security guy will come and kick me out. And she goes, "I don't know you. What department are you from?" So I reckoned I just wouldn't lie, and I said, "I'm from the IT department." And she goes, and she goes, "I've not seen you in our office, so how come?" Then I go, we are the IT department, so we sit in our stretched sweaters somewhere in the basement, doing our system administration stuff. And she goes, "We don't have a basement in our office." So I go like, "Come on, don't be so down to earth. It's a proverbial basement, the place where we IT people sit and do our system administration thing." And before I complete this, before I explain myself, she just turns around and goes like, "Girls, come over here. You have to see this. There's this IT guy here, and you know what? He actually speaks a human language." So 1 minute later, I'm there surrounded with a circle of users, and they ask me all sorts of questions. And of course, I have to dodge most of these questions because I have no freaking clue about their system landscape and solutions that they have. But actually, some of the questions are generic enough for me to answer them. So I'm answering them, just hoping that I am not causing too much trouble for the real IT department of this company. But of course, I don't feel comfortable with this situation because I am there, drinking their drinks, not having been invited, and pretending to be someone I am not. So I finish my drink, I say goodbye nicely, and I head off to my room. But I leave with this disturbing thought in my head, and is that we are here in the 21st century. We speak at conferences about digital, agile, all those modern terms, trendy terms. We are surrounded by very modern technology in our private lives, consumerization of IT, but yet still, when we come back to enterprise IT, the attribute, the virtue that business representatives get enthusiastic about is the ability of an IT professional to speak a human language. So I was quite happy yesterday when Paul Wilkinson was also mentioning that we still have a lot of issues which are as old as IT industry, going back 15 years ago, and they are still so much valid, so much fundamental to our success. And that's also what we discussed with the organizers of this conference, whom I would like to thank you for the invitation, and decided that we would take some time discussing business or IT business communication. And due to the shortage of time, I'll narrow down the focus now to user communication particularly. And what we will do, what I will try to show you, is a bit of a case study of BSH Home Appliance Group in Poland about user communication, and particularly about the outbound user communication. So what we do to address our users more proactively with certain outbound IT marketing and IT communication campaigns. This all goes back to no, maybe let me start the other way around. As it is a case study, you probably want to know a little bit about the situational context. So what IT operations of BSH are in Poland. So again, BSH Home Appliance Group, second biggest manufacturer of home appliances in the world. Lots of operations in Poland. We have manufacturing in soon 6 factories. We have shared services. We have our sales operations in the country as well. When we speak about the volume, roughly 2,000 up to 3,000 users, depending on what moment of time you're speaking about. Field service, service desk, and IT business partners being the touch points to the business. So quite a usual setup. I would say nothing really extraordinary. What is important to say is that we have, I dare say, good quality of IT systems. We have very rich functionalities, systems that are very much tailored to the needs of the business, and yet still we invest in them quite a lot. So this brings me directly to the first reason why we considered IT communication and user communication important for the organization. And it is the notion that spending each unit of money or time, 1,000 euro, for user communication, for improving how users work with the existing functionalities, gives a better return on investment than enriching our functionalities, which are pretty rich. So to put it in economics, language of economics, the marginal profit of investment in communication is higher than the marginal profit of investment into implementation of new solutions. By the way, don't communicate like this, okay? This is gibberish. This is jargon of economists. Don't do that. Second reason why is driven by actually lean management. So what we wanted to achieve is to reduce non-value added inquiries coming from the users to us. So the idea was about just-in-time communication. When a user will be looking for some piece of information, they should actually not spend their time, our time, approaching us like with a pull request, asking for help, but they should get it up front, just in time. That was the concept. Third reason why is less tangible, less, it's hard to measure that, but it was there also in the presentations that we've heard so far. It's about building trust. It's about improving the perception of IT, the image of IT, and not just because we like to be liked, but with a very sound business reason behind, because improving the perception, improving the way business sees IT and believes that IT is there to help, helps build trust, and this is then helping make business faster, less formal. There is no agile without trust. So all those very down-to-earth activities that we do, they have this concept of building trust behind them as well. So we began some 5 years ago, and actually we began with this concept of surrounding the users with various channels of communication, both online and offline, wikis, newsletters, training programs that we enriched, some other aspects of offline communication as well. But we began with very concrete actions, and they were about restructuring and reviewing what we already had, because it was not that we had nothing. We had a lot of communication, particularly online with certain newsletters, for example, but it was just a little bit too messy. Various IT departments, entities were approaching users with various forms of messages. Quite often, I mean, the thing that all those messages shared in common was that quite often this communication was irrelevant to the users, so not targeted enough to make it relevant to the users, and quite often too elaborate. So they were getting large emails, and they just considered this spam. So what we did at the very beginning was just simplifying this and streamlining through building a single wiki in the intranet, where we would have at the very beginning roughly 120 articles with the essentials, and of course then we were authoring some content as we went, and we were promoting this content with very short mails, which were like teasers, 1 2 sentences, long enough for the user to evaluate if they want to click and read, short enough for them not to consider this spam. So it's easy to read 2 sentences and just delete if this is not relevant. And it was successful at the very beginning. The users were enthusiastic about it, but then we hit the wall. So you see this, 2012, this is, I believe this is average page views per user per month, this KPI. So at the very beginning it was good, fueled by enthusiasm and curiosity, but then the KPIs dropped. And why did they drop? For 2 reasons to my eye. One was missing involvement of the team, of the IT team. The second reason being the low maturity of the process itself, because communication in our case is a process. So when it comes to involvement of the team, of course, as already mentioned, it's often not easy to make IT personnel, IT engineers very good at communication at the first shot. It's sometimes due to certain skills that are missing, but much more often this is due to the missing understanding why IT communication and why IT marketing are important to the organization. So if you speak to engineers, normally if you speak about marketing, then they associate marketing, or they explain marketing, define marketing as advertising and some other gimmicks, mind tricks that allow you to sell a crappy product for a high price. That's how they see marketing. Whereas, even if you have a look at the definition of marketing by Kotler, it's the science and art, which is a surprise in itself, of exploring, creating, and delivering value to satisfy the needs of the target. So in this very definition, you already see that marketing is so much about listening, not only about communicating to the target group. That's why we have 2 ears and 1 mouth to listen more than we speak. And that actually it creates value to the business. It's not cynical. Second reason why we were hitting this wall at the very beginning was exactly about this process maturity. So at the very beginning of this venture, we were focusing on content authoring and content delivery, but we were missing what is here on the left-hand side of the slide. So we were not closing this loop by measuring the results of what we do and by actually planning the right way, so choosing the right topics that we want to communicate to the users. So let me tell you now how we do this currently after we implemented some improvements. So when it begins with choosing the content, so selecting the right topics that we want to communicate to the users, we focus on several sources of inspiration and input. And the ones that are the most important for us are IT service desk and field service. So we monitor what is happening between IT and the users. If we notice, for example, that some topics are the topics with which users approach us more often because they have problems with, I don't know, printers, some new iPhone solution or what have you, then we take this and we then push the information to the users proactively to reduce the number of such inquiries in the future. We also do the promotion of new IT functionalities, new IT products. And we also collect information coming from traffic analysis and also some inspirations that come from inside of the team. So once you know roughly what you would like to communicate to the users, what solutions to promote, what know-how to put through in form of either a wiki article or a training or whatever else, then you have to do the content authoring. You have to prepare the content. And the difficulty here is that most probably you would like to have IT perceived by the business as a certain persona, as a certain personality which is friendly and approachable. But if you want to make it a personality, you first have to make it coherent. You cannot have this as an average, as an outcome of personalities of all the different various personalities that you have in the team. And you cannot make it just an average of the communication styles that you have in the team. And when you speak about communication styles, then quite often you have such communication styles like, you know, John Wayne: talk low, talk slow, and don't say too much. That's quite common. I mean, talking a lot is not cool. Being mysterious is cool. So this shows also in some aspects of communication to the business that IT personnel sometimes does not just approach actively the business with information. This style of communication is not helpful at all, not harmful either, fortunately. What is much more harmful is this communication style, James Joyce style, stream of consciousness, lots of content, lots of thoughts. Maybe even they have some structure. I mean, if you are a fan of Ulysses, then you would probably argue that there is structure there, but it's just not comprehensible for an average user. So this style of communication is already harmful, unfortunately. What is even more harmful to my eye is this style of communication. You surely know Dr. House. He's absolutely a pro when it comes to the content of his work. He does the job. But he has a little problem with empathy. When I was looking for some quotes in the internet, I found some other ones as well, and it was like, love and happiness are nothing but distractions, or humanity is overrated. So you have a human person on the other end. You have to acknowledge this. If you want to have this persona of a friendly, approachable IT department, you have to address this as well. So what I have actually decided after some time is to make this to implement this coherency of communication by having dedicated personnel for orchestrating the process and also for certain editorial work. So what we do currently is that we collect the input from the IT personnel, from field service and some other groups of IT. We coach them to make this content as good as possible from the very beginning, but we also do the final polishing of the content before we publish this. Again, either through online communication or through some other channels. We do this with dedicated stuff. Once you have the content, you have to deliver this, and again, I could talk quite long about this. There are so many different channels of communication. I don't want you to have an impression that we are speaking only about wiki and publishing content in the intranet and promoting this with newsletters. It's also so much about other channels. But again, due to shortage of time, I would like to focus on two things, and those two things are just-in-time communication and the right mix of online and offline communication. So when it comes to just-in-time, again, the idea is to deliver the right piece of information to the right target group, to the right recipient at a right point of time to make it context relevant for them. Of course, there are some pieces of information that you just deliver at any time. If you have a new functionality that most of your company would like to use, then you just broadcast it and that's it. But what we do also is that we deliver just in time based on, for example, the life cycle of an employee in the company, in this hire to retire process. So this begins actually with the onboarding of a user. So that's what the users at BSH get when they get their bag with a laptop. They also get this popcorn box and a bag of popcorn. They are asked to go to the nearest microwave oven. We have plenty of them. We produce them. They are asked to just find half an hour of time, prepare popcorn for themselves, and go through the initial training of IT. Before we implemented this, we were just chasing them with bats, escalating if they didn't do the training at the first days of their onboarding. Right now we do this, and the conversion rate is just comparable. So if you want to have a look at this, you can put it in through the room. No, don't eat the popcorn.
You don't have an oven.
No, but I can sell you one. So it begins with this onboarding, but then it also goes along the life cycle of an employee. And it's like, for example, if an employee is changing the department, then we have information about this coming from the Active Directory. The abbreviation changes, the reporting line to the boss changes. So then we also, for example, send the information to the former boss and to the new boss, how they should what they should do to remove the unnecessary authorizations, IT products from them, and to get the new ones that the user will need after changing the department. This is immediately reducing the inquiries that we get. I mean, they would anyhow approach us with a question, what to do now, unless they are so well trained that they remember. So this is like shifting from pull to push. We get to them with the right information at the right point of time. We are currently exploring some other, say, events along the life cycle of an employee that we could utilize. Imagine that, for example, a user gets an iPhone and they had a different phone in the past. So you have all the information in the configuration management database. You can tell by monitoring the database that this event happened. And then you can provide the right information, the right hints to the user. This doesn't sound really like rocket science. I mean, if you use Dropbox, Netflix, whatever else, they do a lot of this say profiling and monitoring of the life cycle of a user, but it's just not that common in enterprise environment. Then we have online versus offline. So you might have noticed already from what I was saying that it's just so easy to speak about online communication. It's tempting. It's mass communication. It's easy to measure. You have everything under control, but it's also not really that human. I mean, going back to my story at the very beginning, you have to speak a language. And you have to address emotions as well. And for that reason, it is necessary to go offline as well. So, for example, one of the lessons learned that we have is that going with online communication to the users also showed some deficits in our internal communication within the IT team. So users were getting some information and they were coming back to the IT personnel, but the IT personnel did not know how to react, how to answer to some of the questions that were coming back. So you have to make sure that if you go with online communication, that also offline you'll be able to address with your personnel all the consequences of your communication. And also on top of that, we try to be visible in offline through some such simple stuff like infographics, tech talks. This is also the initiative that we'll be exploring soon. Ambience communication. So we'll have some security awareness campaigns that will be going to our offices in the environment of the users. So imagine that you leave to the toilet, and then in the toilet you see such a sticker asking you if you have locked your computer. It's pretty stressful, right? So gadgets as well, all that stuff. It's pretty obvious. So I will not go into too much details of that. So once you deliver the content, of course, then to close the loop, you want to measure. And again, it is so easy and tempting when it comes to online communication. So we obviously do all of that stuff, conversion rates, click-through rates, etc. But the pitfall here is that actually you're measuring the efficiency of your efforts, how good you are operationally, but you don't measure how effective you are. And this gets more tricky, but we try to do that as well. This is one of the examples. So for example, if you do a campaign which is driven by what we see at the service desk, that the users are coming with lots of inquiries around a certain topic, then we try to measure if the communication that we did helped improve what we have between the service desk and the users, if really the number of such non-value added inquiries dropped. Also, you can find some curious data or inspiring information in the measurements. So, for example, we found out that classroom trainings delivered by our personnel were perceived better by the users than the trainings delivered by trainers, by the professionals who know their craft. So despite of the fact that our people are not that well trained in delivery of classroom trainings, those trainings were perceived better. So you can find also quite interesting information and derive certain decisions out of that if you measure properly. Well, you have to measure properly because if there is just one single takeaway from this meeting that I would like you to have, then it's this. The single biggest problem about communication is the illusion that it has taken place. So exactly for this, you need to have measurement of the whole do, learn, plan cycle closed as a loop. And, well, first of all, I believe you should approach this topic actively, the topic of user communication, because if you don't, then somebody, this might be myself, this might be some shadow IT cloud solution provider, might just come to your party, start drinking your whiskey and talking to your users instead of you. Thank you.
It's time for the questions.
Okay.
Before we start, thank you for using Slido application. Those who used were smiling at some point of the presentation. The reason why is, can you show the questions?
Oh,
You'll be
God.
surprised with the first question, Szymon, really. How many girls recognize you next morning at the breakfast? This is the top question from the audience.
It's recorded, isn't it? No. Again, I didn't feel comfortable with the situation. It was just not compliant. It had nothing to do with business conduct guidelines.
All right. The next one is what kind of user satisfaction means and metrics does BCH use?
Well, we can I have help from the audience, from the team? We have plenty of KPIs. We of course we do user surveys. We do this on regular basis, but what we use as a primary metrics is Net Promoter Score.
Okay. And maybe the third one, just to finish. Which communication channels with the users was the most successful for you?
Again, I will dodge this question because I think it's the right mix that matters. Online communication, those Wiki articles and the teasers, the newsletters that we send to promote them, they are very effective when it comes to mass delivery of information. Also, you can automate, you can deliver just in time, but all of this does not matter if you do not make it 360 degrees, if you don't make it coherent with your other channels of communication that are also in the physical world.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.